The Second World War had begun and Germany was bombing London. It was common in those days for many families to send their children to safety in the countrysides of England. C.S. Lewis was then living in his countryside home and welcomed children of his distant relatives to stay with him. And about this time, he had also begun to write a beautiful story for his godchild, combining what he saw in the habits and the rhythms of the young children who were staying with him and his own rich imaginative abilities in spinning a world of magic and fantasy. He began to write what we know today as the Chronicles of Narnia. These are a series of stories, and all of them explore themes of loyalty, forgiveness, faith, and courage. Hi, you're listening to What's New Today, a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. In this episode, we take a short break from discussing world events and instead review this enchanting book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It is the second book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. This is Sangeeta, your host from India, and joining me in this episode are two young readers.
Hello everyone, my name is Darsh Sachit. I live in Chennai city and I am a 5th grader. And I'm a big fan of books, especially fantasy ones.
Hi, I'm Prakriti and I'm 10 years old. I'm currently in 5th grade and I study in SM Shetty International School.
Welcome both of you. Prakriti, can you tell me a little bit about what the plot of the story is?
Yeah, it's like this, that 4 children, Edmund, Peter, Susan and Lucy, go through a wardrobe and then they suddenly end up in a magical land called Narnia.
Wow. So they literally just open the wardrobe, go in to get some clothes, and when they explore the insides of the wardrobe a little bit more, and they find a beautiful forest behind it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Wow. Sounds magical. Okay. What else happens in the story?
So they realize it's being controlled by an evil witch called the White Witch. And she considers herself the Queen of Narnia.
So the forest is very cold and snowy. Then before that, when Lucy had discovered the wardrobe and went inside, she had found a friend called Mr. Tumnus, and she wanted to introduce Mr. Tumnus to her siblings. But when she went to Mr. Tumnus's house, everything was wrecked.
So before we give away the entire story, we do want our listeners to pick up the book and read it. So we can't give away the entire story, can we? So who is your favorite character, most favorite character, Prakriti, in this book?
Mine is Aslan. Aslan is a lion. And I really like him because he is very brave, smart, and he also sacrificed himself to save Edmund.
From a purely writer's perspective, the White Witch is my favorite character.
Interesting.
Edmund really believed she was a good person. She's a classic villain. She's an evil dictator.
Do we have a backstory for this evil witch?
Yeah, she was the king's executioner before. She was privileged above everyone.
Prakriti, who is your least favorite character in the book?
To be honest, I like all the characters, even the White Witch.
This is one amazing book where you've fallen in love with all characters, regardless of how good, bad, or ugly they are. Wow, the book must be really marvelously written. Had either one of you read the book before we had recommended it as this month's book review?
Yeah, I had.
Darsh?
No, I had no idea what Chronicles of Narnia was.
So Darsh, you said you had never heard of the Narnia series. So I'm not going to ask you this question. But Prakriti, have you seen the movie? This book has also been made into a movie.
Like, I've seen all of the movies 3-4 times.
Oh my God. I personally really enjoyed watching the movie also, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Of course, I loved reading the entire Chronicles of Narnia series, but the only movie I have watched is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I don't think they've made all 7 into a series, movie series, I meant.
Somewhere I read that Netflix is planning to make a TV show on the Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, that would be very interesting if a web
Yeah.
series on the Chronicles of Narnia did come out. Prakriti mentioned earlier that when she read the part where the lion Aslan sacrifices himself to save Edmund, she was a little sad. Did you expect that twist in the story when you were reading it?
Kind of expected it actually, because in most stories there's like this big sacrificial moment for some character.
Okay, so to give our listeners a quick overview, so here are four children who just entered this magical land of Narnia, and they need to fight a battle against the evil witch to restore the land to normalcy, because as long as the evil witch rules, there will always be winter. So they'll never have summer or spring or autumn. Most importantly, what do they not get? Which festival never comes close to them?
Christmas.
Yes, as long as the
I
evil
was
witch.
so angry on the white witch because my birthday is on Christmas.
Oh. Prakriti would never have gotten the opportunity to celebrate her birthday. But on the good side, Prakriti would never grow older.
I don't want to be a baby forever.
Now, the Narnia series is full of anthropomorphic characters, meaning animals who behave and speak like humans. Have you all read other books like this?
I think this is kind of cheating, because I'm going to say Harry Potter and I'm going to say Professor McGonagall because she's an animagus.
Oh, please. No, animators don't count as anthropomorphism. Tell me about books where you've read where the characters are animals and they speak.
I've never read anything like that.
These days, I don't think many people use animals in their stories that talk.
So, in modern day literature, you don't come across writers using animals that talk. Oh, that is sad.
I feel like I've read almost every single fiction book in the world, but I rarely come across animals that talk.
That is quite sad. We must tell all the children authors out there, please write more anthropomorphic characters. So, which brings me to the last question. If you had to change the ending of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, how would you change it?
I would make it that they could not travel through the lamppost anymore, but they always have a memory of the real world. And then they could just rule in Narnia and then have that memory and then look at it whenever they're sad. That would have made for a more heartfelt ending instead of a comedic one where they just fly through the wardrobe and then land on the floor.
Oh, so Darsh would like the children to stay in Narnia forever.
In the end, they go to hunt the white stag, right? While going to hunt the white stag, Edmund gets lost and meets a little girl. And it turns out that when the little girl would grow up, she would become the white witch. The ending would be more dramatic. Like, will Narnia go fall in its dark times again? Dot 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 ellipsis.
And we leave
Yeah.
all the readers with bated breath about when
And that's
that would
also kind of
happen.
like then we'd have to write another book of the land, the witch, and the wardrobe, of course. But then the readers would more quickly buy the books.
Oh, the idea is for the readers to come back to buy the sequel
Yeah.
ASAP. Okay, so you're thinking like a businesswoman about how you'd market and attract the next set, the readers for the next set of books. Would you recommend this book for children aged 8 and above, or 12 and above, or 5 and above?
So 8 and above.
7 and above. Believe me, I was 7 years old and I read the story once. I tried to read the story. All I could make out is there's a villain called White Witch, and the four main characters are Peter, Susan, Lucy, and Edmund. That's it.
Okay, so you're saying you don't get the story at all.
Yeah, they won't get it.
Oh, that is a very interesting point to note. Thank you so much, both of you. I'm delighted that you were introduced to the Chronicles of Narnia. In the case of Dash, it was introduced for the first time. In the case of Prakriti, were introduced to the idea of reviewing the book. I know you've read the book before and you've watched the movie also. I hope that this review entices our listeners to pick up this book. So, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis is the second book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. But when C.S. Lewis wrote it, it was the first book he wrote. Much later, he wrote a prequel to it, The Magician's Nephew, which becomes the first in this series of seven. I read it when I was a child and I loved it. It remains one of my favorite books in the fantasy genre to this day. I think as I grew up, I started reading books like Lord of the Rings, which will remain my most favorite in the fantasy genre ever. Have you guys seen the movies, Lord of the Rings? I don't think you would have read the books, but
And I
have you all
was
seen
never
the
gonna
movies?
until I turn 18 or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it.
You haven't seen it. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me. I'll see you later. Bye bye.